Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The Honorable Professor Dato Technologist Dr. Noor Azizi Ismail, Vice Chancellor of Universiti Malaysia Kelantan. The Honorable Professor Technologist Dr. Arham Abdullah, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Research and Innovations, Universiti Malaysia Kelantan. The Honorable Emeritus Professor Dato Dr. Abdul Latif Muhammad, Keynote Speaker of CTReSS 2.0, Associate Professor Dr. Aweng Ehrak, Chairman of CTReSS 2.0, Dr. Muhammad Faiz Muhammad Amin, Dean, Faculty of Earth Science, Universiti Malaysia Kelantan, committee members, local and international presenters and participants, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, on behalf of the CTReSS 2.0 committee, I would like to take this opportunity to welcome and thanks all of you for taking time off to attend the virtual opening ceremony of the second International Conference on Tropical Resources and Sustainable Sciences, which known as CTReSS 2.0. The theme of this conference is protecting and conserving the environment for sustainable living. This is the first time the Faculty of Earth Science, Universiti Malaysia Kelantan, in collaboration with Research Management and Innovation Center, Universiti Malaysia Kelantan, organized a virtual conference. Initially, the face-to-face conference was scheduled to be held on last April 2020, but due to unprecedented situations of COVID-19 pandemic, we have taken the challenging task to gather all the participants under a virtual conference. On behalf of CTReSS 2.0 committee, today we are grateful to reschedule and organize this virtual conference as it is. CTReSS 2.0 has received overwhelming response from distinguished researchers. We are thankful that the number of participants was in fact beyond our expectations. Only 100 manuscripts were accepted and will be published in IOP Environment and Earth Science Conference series that indexed by Scopus. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we are pleased to invite Associate Professor Dr. Aweng Ehrak, Chairman of the Second International Conference on Tropical Resources and Sustainable Sciences, to deliver his welcoming remarks. Please welcome Associate Professor Dr. Aweng.
Thank you, Dr. Azhar. Very good morning to all participants. First and foremost, I would like to warmly welcome all international and local participants to the Conference on Tropical Resources and Sustainable Sciences, or in short, CTReSS 2020. The first conference on Tropical Resources and Sustainable Sciences, CTReSS 1.0, was successfully organized by Universiti Malaysia Kelantan in 2020. As a continuance of the first conference, this year UMK has once again come out with CTReSS 2.0 due to the overwhelming support that we received from the previous CTReSS 1.0. However, this time around, the approach is different, as mentioned by Dr. Azhar just now, whereby the conference is organized online to facilitate the movement restriction or movement control order and the lockdown imposed by all the countries around the world, including Malaysia, due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The main goal of the Conference on Tropical Resources and Sustainable Sciences, CTReSS 2.0, is to explore issues on natural resource management from environmental, social, and economic perspective, as well as coming up with their solutions. Other than that, the sole purpose of the conference is also to provide a platform for internationals and local researchers and stakeholders to collaborate and share experiences and results of the research in the context of sustainable natural resource management. The CTReSS 2.0 covers a wide range of topics, including atmospheric science, soil, water, minerals and geology, which is related to geoscience and effect, climate, forests, and wildlife management, social culture sustainability, environmental impact, institution and policies, environmental law and governance, ecosystem services, natural resource products, sustainable economics, agriculture and aquaculture. On behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to express my highest gratitude to all partners, participants for making this conference a reality. I hope that all participants can make full use of CTReSS 2.0 as a platform in enhancing and strengthening their networking and research collaboration. With that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Associate Professor Dr. Aweng Ehrak, for the welcoming remarks. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, now I am honored to invite Professor Dato Technologist Dr. Noor Azizi Ismail, Vice Chancellor of Universiti Malaysia Kelantan, to deliver his speech and officiate the second International Conference on Tropical Resources and Sustainable Sciences. Please welcome Prof. Dato.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning to everyone. The Honorable Emeritus Professor Dato Dr. Abdul Latif Muhammad, the keynote speaker for Second International Conference on Tropical Resources and Sustainable Sciences. Professor Dr. Arham Abdullah, Deputy Vice Chancellor for Research and Innovation, UMK. Associate Professor Dr. Aweng Ehrak, Chairman of the conference. Technologist Dr. Muhammad Faiz Muhammad Amin, the Dean Faculty of Earth Science, UMK. CTReSS 2.0 committee members, local and international presenters and participants, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. UMK is proud to host the second International Conference on Tropical Resources and Sustainable Sciences on a virtual basis. And since the inception of UMK, sustainable management of natural resources has always been at the forefront and as a niche of research highlighted through various agenda and measures in collaboration with different state and federal government agencies, non-governmental organizations, and local communities. It is our mission to not only act as a platform for teaching and learning, but also to be the hub for sharing latest scientific knowledge. Therefore, this conference provides a good stage to account for different perspectives on issues of natural resource management, including that of environmental, social, and economic viewpoints. In line with the ever-changing world climate, this conference also deems relevant to reflect the current environmental issues and thus mitigation measures. I wish the organizing committee a great success and looking towards a collective resolutions achieved through the presented papers. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I take a pleasure in declaring the second International Conference on Tropical Resource and Sustainable Sciences 2020 officially open. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi.
Thank you, Professor Dato Technologist Noor Azizi Ismail, for the officiate, the second International Conference on Tropical Resources and Sustainable Sciences. Okay, unfortunately, Dato will not join us until the end of the sessions, because Prof. Dato needs to attend another meeting. On behalf of the CTReSS 2.0 committee, we are grateful to have Dato to officiate our CTReSS 2.0. Once again, thank you, Dato. For the next sessions, we're going to start with the keynote speaker sessions. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor for me to introduce our keynote speaker for today, Emeritus Professor Dato Dr. Abdul Latif Muhammad is the world-renowned expert in the research of plant taxonomy and conservation biology. Born 1948 in Kelantan, he furthered his tertiary study in University of Malaya in Bachelor of Science. In 1974, he went to the University of Reading and received his Master of Science in Plant Taxonomy. Later on, he obtained his Doctor of Philosophy in Plant Systematics and returned to Malaysia in 1978. He was appointed as a lecturer at Universiti Kebangsaan Malaysia and promoted as associate professor in 1983 and later as a professor in 1991. Currently, he is an emeritus professor at Universiti Kebangsaan Malaysia. He has published more than 500 scientific articles, with many listed in the world-renowned journals. About 300 other publications were published as chapter in books and paper in proceedings. He has trained many postgraduate students who are now academicians, research officers, and other scientific professionals around the globe. Please welcome our Emeritus Professor, Dato Dr. Abdul Latif Muhammad. Please welcome, Dato.
Boleh dewan aku. Boleh tak dah?
Boleh, dengar Prof.
Kau tak payah mute.
Dah boleh Prof. Dah ada.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum dan salam selamat COVID. Well, to be honest, this is the first time I did teleconferencing by speaking just to the rectangular screen. You know, having an audience in front of me to share how I feel about things. Kalau nak start slide ya? Kan?
Slide.
Nampak je, man? Hello? The topic given to me this morning is how do we protect and conserve the environment for sustainable living? Protecting and conserving the environment are the ambit of the authorities in the country, namely the various agencies and departments in the country, in the state government, and the federal government. Now, sustainable living is again difficult to define to suit everybody's need. But to me, sustainable living means we have clean air, clean water, enough money in the pocket to buy food, food security, happiness, no traffic jam, and having a good life with a family. That is sustainable living, meaning the life we enjoy now and we hope to carry forward to the life to be enjoyed by our children and our great-grandchildren. Next slide, Julian. Oh, dia kita control. Are you controlling the slide or am I controlling the slide? Kita jawab. Aku nak move to the next slide. Okay. Okay. Good. Macam mana? Absurd. Ada besar ni. I tak nampak. Okay. I will start sharing with you my understanding and appreciating and respecting our environment. Then I'll go into talking about something that most of you have already known, which is the richness of our natural resources, both inland and also in marine ecosystem, and understanding that our country has gone through a very rapid pace of socio-economic development. And our intention is how do we protect our mega biota, both in tropical forests and aquatic ecosystem. And I will ask a question: is the socio-economic development occurring in our country protecting natural resources, and are they sustainable? And I will end up with some challenges in sustainable living. No, move next one. Ke situ. Ke sini. All right. Our environment consists of what I consider physical landscapes. You look around you, the urban areas, the rural areas, the villages, the towns, and including the seascape, the coastal areas, and also the shallow seas around us. And all this landscape contain so much of natural resources and biodiversity, much to the acclaimed by regional authorities, by the world communities, and our population is growing. And I think we are about 30 million now, and we are talking about food security. Do we have enough food to eat? Are we still a net importer of food? And are our amenities good enough for our population? And again, questioning, is our socio-economic development sustainable? And as you know, there are so many green issues and brown issues coming up in the last decade. And what strikes me most is, the impact of globalization, so much so that we cannot live alone in our cocoon, but we have got to consider our neighbor in home and our neighbor in countries, and much so how does it impact our quality of environment and our education. The public are so concerned and the public are so aware of our problem, and to my mind this is the only our environment that we all live in, and we hope to keep it that way. Just to bring around what I consider beauties, real sceneries. This is a typical scenario in Gunung Kinabalu, and you see the serenity. You see what I consider a good place to be there. Look at this scenario: green, lush forest in the background, bluish mountain, and compare this to our capital city of Kuala Lumpur, full of skyscrapers and building. Compare this with our forests, with streams and rivers flowing with clean water. Have a look at this. This is Tasik Chini when it is beautiful and pristine. And this is what I call serenity, where you go to this place to distress yourself and feel like having a good living. And if you go to the high altitude, to the cloud forest, you see this is something like in temperate countries. And these scenes are from, the one on the left is from Sabah, the 70th waterfall. The one on the right, upside top picture is Gunung Perlis. Some of you may be surprised, and the serenity of mangrove. And we are happy to note that these are the kinds of ecosystem diversity we have in Malaysia, right? From Perlis to Johor to Sabah and Sarawak, we have got all this as our heritage. Again, to go to Sabah to see how beautiful Gunung Dalung at dusk. The one top right is Maria Basin, and down right is Tamanagara. And understand that all this, the shallow seas around us, the coastal areas and the coastal resources, the clean beaches, the rivers, the stream, the mangrove swamp, freshwater swamp, and right down to offshore island are all what I consider should be protect and conserve in pristine conditions so as to enjoy the amenities. Just to remind us, all these, the landscape and landscape are impacted by development, either directly or indirectly, because we are developing. And we always believe that development must bring minimal impact to the landscape, also to the seascape, for a healthy living. And the country and most countries in the world have adopted sustainable development for the future. Just remind you, I think most of you have seen these SDGs many times. It reminds us this is the aspiration of the global communities. And we adopted the similar aspiration because we believe that these are the goals that all of us should aspire to attain for a good living. There are 17 of them, but I doubt most will be achieved. Again, looking at the species, I think many of you listening to this understand that we have very rich flowering plant, the flora, from the flowering plant right to the fungi and microbe, somehow we don't know how much. To remind you of the diversity, the Nepenthes, this is just 5 species out of 47 over species in Peninsular Malaysia, Sarawak, and Sabah, which to my mind are beautiful plants to watch. Sometimes it might have to distress ourselves. You have been to the mangroves, you see the pneumatophore, the roots, but you haven't seen closely the beautiful flowers when they are in fruit. Just to remind you of the fauna, again, we have many species of mammal, right down to bird, to reptile, and sad to say the invertebrates are still in the limbo because, especially insect, one single rich group, we don't know very much, except to my mind is the Chrysomelidae, the leaf beetles, which we know very much. To remind you, we have 10 species of hornbill. This is just one example. The beauty of our hornbill. To remind you of our flying squirrel. To remind you of small rodents on the ground floor. And this is something which look weird, but again, it is a species that we have yet to name it. Caught a few years ago in Cameron Highland, a species of automot yet to be described. And lastly, something that we cannot see, something within every species of plants and animal, the genetic material, or some people call it the DNA or genome. And there are many of them, and what comes to my mind is the trade of this animal, be it parrot, right to the bird's nest to turtle. In other words, we are trading our natural resources. You may ask me, are these sustainable or not? Some are, some are not. Again, just to remind you of what I said just now, these figures, I think some of them are outdated, but nevertheless, this gives you a picture of our richness, and this gives you the value or the benefits that can be accrued from our ecosystem services, which we have got them for free this far. These are the example of values of biodiversity from food security to wood product, and what have, have no values to our mind is the social and aesthetic values. Research, what is the value of research, education, recreational forest, and the cultural value. These are all something which we have got to bear in mind. You know, coming back to what I consider the prime movers of development, this kind of pictures is all gone, but in some state they are still active, paving the way to this kind of landscape. Next come the oil palm plantation, and the offspring of this development is what I consider the mismanagement of waste. Now you see this in many landfills. And what happened next is that, you know, this question of solid waste management system is been going on. I think even in Kelantan, I've just read a paper from Dr. Awen talking about this, that people scavenging these areas for something to sell. But the other thing that come to my mind is what Kuala Lumpur is experiencing is flash flood. I think Johor and many states are experiencing flash flood and even drought in some states like Kedah some years ago. I believe in this. There are many approaches to sustainable development, to good living, and all players from federal government right down to the state government to the local communities, you and me, have a role to play. Because if the federal government does alone, I don't think they will succeed. If the state government do not come along to help the federal government, what is important are the local communities, you and me on the street. These are the real players. We have the policies, but now what happened to our policies? As our population increases, now 30 million, and I think we are experiencing 2.3 annual birth rate. It is increasing. By 2025, it will be about 32 million. What about the old scenario of rural population migrating to urban population to find good living? What about people coming from the neighboring countries, especially the foreign workers? They all need food to eat, they all need place to sleep, and all this put demand on our natural resources, which we have plenty, but how long can they last? All this, to my mind, are our response to globalization and international pressures. But to bring the foreign workers to our country is not pressure that come from outside, but from inside. And all this, to my mind, had put some decline in our quality of the environment and also possibly our lifestyle. And we have been talking about incorporating, the green living, green economy, but we have not seen the limelight of it. And we have seen the rise of the brown issues that I see just now about waste management, air pollution, water pollution, and even petty crime that is happening in our neighborhood. There are many indicators of sustainable development. And we saw this in our country, the new growth center, the northern growth center, the east growth center, the southern growth center, and we have seen rapid urbanization. And in Klang Valley, right to Negeri Sembilan, we have seen urbanization, meaning you cannot see boundaries between Kuala Lumpur and Seremban anymore. All these are gearing towards what I consider, what the government consider industrialization. Now we have extended to 2025. We aspire to be industrialized by 2020. Sad to say, I don't think we have achieved, and our GDPs are declining a little bit, and our economic policy is not doing well. Our 5-year development plan, I think, is being inhibited a little bit by this COVID pandemic. But I have seen new patterns of consumerism from really lavish consumption now during this period of COVID. We have been relying on panda food and what new norm, people call it new norm. And I think we have played an important role all this long as member of the public. We have plenty of protected areas. You know, you go to Sabah, to Sarawak, even in Semarang, in Malaysia, they tell you we have protected this for biodiversity, we have protected this for the environmental issue. I concurred with that. And I think I looked at uh, one sector, you know, agriculture sector, including forestry. I think we are relying in the past for timber, and now we relying a lot. I think almost 80% of our GDP on palm oil, and a little bit on agriculture, and so on and so forth. And tourism come strongly together with manufacturing. And we have done our best in certifying all this, and we have called for biodiversity conservation, and we have called for minimizing environmental degradation. And I think the Department of Forestry, Semenanjung Malaysia, Sabah Sarawak, in all the states believe in sustainable forest management, and we have seen the various states have played their part. But I think without the participation, active participation from people like you and me, they are not going to see much success. You know, and I look at forestry in particular. We have promised to keep at least 50% of our forest cover plus our tree cover. That comes to about nearly 20 million hectares. That's good, and a lot more designated under the permanent forest reserve. But I'm looking at the balance. Okay, balance I consider between forest production and our social obligation to the communities. We have got to protect, we have got to conserve, we have got to give environmental education to all, so that all can play a part in it. And as I said, we have national park, state park, wildlife sanctuary, and so on. All this speak well for our effort in trying to protect. And I believe in this. I believe in green economy. I think the whole world believes in green economy. In other words, let's do it in the right ways. We have set up long goals in forest management. We have set up management protocol for other resources. We believe in our timber and timber-based products. We believe in multiple use. We believe in all these things are found in every government department annual report, in the state annual report, trying to do something good. But do we realize that the footprint we put aside, which is important, especially the carbon footprint. And likewise, agriculture should be done in a sustainable manner. But you and I have seen in some places like Cameron Highland, even lodging, to my mind, our wish is not yet attained to see a really sustainable agriculture in these two places. And what have we done in nutrient recycling, in organic farming? Some places have done better than others, and the use of microorganisms in agriculture. Some industries have done this already. And what are the components to your mind, to my mind, about healthy living? Our lifestyle. I think we have got to change our lifestyle from being a net consumer to a net producer, and to have a balanced life. You eat minimal. We must have good housing. You know, to me, people living in the Klang Valley, like I am living in Kuala Lumpur, the prices of houses sky high. I think the prices of houses in Kelantan stay good. But we need community security. I don't believe in gated communities. I believe in happy communities without gates. I believe in safe food, especially now. And I believe in sustainable supply of food. What happened now to me is unsustainable, because the good food, the good fish, the good vegetable are going overseas for monetary return. The bad one are consumed locally. And all the one tainted with weedicide and pesticide are consumed locally. This is not what I consider sustainable food supply. And I need to live in health conditions, especially now everybody is wearing masks, and I believe in community health. I believe in clean water and clean air, and I think you people in Kelantan are having problem with clean water supply, as I understand from reading Facebook. But we need clean environment. We need good education. We need free education. We need lifelong education. We need to recreate ourselves. We need to go to amenities. And I always told my friends in Jabatan Perhutanan that there are only 3 amenity forests in Kelantan. We need 24. I think Dr. Zul Hazwan gave me a list of 24 already, and I'm taking this step forward to have more amenity forests in Kelantan. Everybody a decade ago was talking about zero crime. My God, I think crime is happening every day. And zero drug abuse, we have seen this, especially in Kelantan. And your list, can go on. You can add your own criteria. I can add mine. What constitutes healthy living? We've got all the government instruments. I mean, as a government, either federal or state, we are good in enacting policies and enacting act. No doubt about this. We have got everything. But what we haven't got enough is enforcement and to see that this thing enforced very well. Well, I would like to conclude by saying sustainable Malaysia, sustainable Kelantan, sustainable anything must not jeopardize the environment. This is rule number 1. And must not jeopardize all our resources because all the environment and the resources support our livelihood, our style of living. Sustainable Malaysia must be in harmony, in balance with our policies, with our technology, and with our respect to all the citizens. So I consider this as smart alliances between the citizen, the government, the policies, the executive, and all the stakeholders. With what? With good understanding of our culture, of our management of natural resources. We must commit ourselves very highly with all the authorities in order to facilitate this one. Individuals, you and me, and groups, communities must contribute towards this. Again, I consider for balance. With what? With knowledge, with wisdom. I mean, gone were the days that you, I, and I, what is mine, what is yours. I think sustainable Malaysia must share, our resources. It is timely now to enhance communication between all sectors, between all individuals, between state government, local government, and action must be taken towards sustainable development and healthy living for all. And I continue, lastly, let us give ourselves, another promise for the new year, 2021, to ensure that the federal and the state government and local district council especially, and all of us, the NGOs and the individual, must promise to do our best, to do our level best in trying to protect and conserve our environment and its component. I think I have spoken enough. I will entertain some questions. To remind you with this last slide, I put down again our SDGs. I would like to thank the moderator. I would like to thank the chairman of the organizing committee, and in particular, Dr. Noor Zamzarina, who called me 28 times this morning as I was driving from home at 7:15. Got caught in a traffic jam, and everybody who made this, what do you call this, teleconferencing possible. Mind you, this is the first time I'm doing it, and I don't like it because I don't see the audience, I don't see the participants. Can I? So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof, for the interesting sharing regarding the protecting and conserving the environment for the sustainable living. Okay, thank you, Prof. I believe that this morning you have emergency, right? That's why we have to delay the delay the keynote speaker sessions. Okay, and now we open for the Q&A sessions. I'm sure that our keynote speaker will be pleased to respond to your questions and comment. Okay, please write on the Facebook live comment, and I will read from there. Okay, do you have any questions and comments regarding the presentation from the prof? Please write that at the comment so that I can read the comment or the questions.
Tak ada. Oh.
Prof dah tengok dekat komen tu, Prof? Tak ada orang tanya lagi, Prof? Just most of
Yeah,
the dia kata thank you je.
sudah.
Okay, okay.
Thank you. Ada salam ke?
Masa sekarang tak ada lagi, Prof.
Some of you notice that I have kept the COVID beard white in color, grey in color.
Dr. Zul Hazman, handsome Pak Teh. Dr. Zul Hazman.
Tak ada soalan ni.
Tak ada soalan.
Suganti just only. I saw thumbs up only. I saw no question. Thank you. Tak ada soalan ni. Pelik dia tulis situ lah, tapi ni thank you dia, looking forward dia, thank you. Tak ada soalan.
Because most of the participant Prof dia tengok melalui Facebook, live Facebook.
I know, I understand that.
Live Facebook. Okay, if there is no question from the participants or presenter, okay, we have one question here, Prof, from Izami. Ada satu soalan. Prof, what
can we
effort that we okay. Many disaster rule can be addressed?
Well, again, as I said, we have enough policies, rules, regulation, laws, in place. I think our country has done wonders, and all these legislation, acts, and amendments are adopted by various states. In particular, I must say, it is difficult, to see on the ground how these policies, how these rules and regulation implemented on the ground. It's difficult. If you read the agencies or government department, they show in good words that they have implemented well. They have done this, they have done this, they have done this, they have planted thousands of trees and so on. But on the ground, it is difficult to see unless one is involved directly with all these activities. I believe in tree planting as a case of point. 3 years ago, I think our minister promised to plant 1 million. I think after planted 257 trees, and the heat somehow faded away, and now we promise again. Every state promise again to do tree planting. In particular, that comes to my mind is lodging. We must take lodging highland. We must take effort in Kelantan. I think UMK can play a role here in starting tree planting. Get plants from nurseries, get plants from your kampung, take them to lodging, and with the help of the authorities, the DO and the ADO in lodging, do the tree planting. And I think if we do that, we can see greening of lodging highland. We can see the impact, of this thing. Shouting alone, criticizing from armchair is not going to work. And we are used to criticizing government, district office from our armchair, our very cozy room. No, I think we can do better than this by going in situ and do tree planting. Go in situ and collect rubbish, especially on the beach. Go in situ and collect rubbish by the roadside, as a form of exercise to my mind.
Yeah, yeah. I think the most important thing, Prof, is the awareness of the people, okay, to protecting and to conserve the environment. Okay, Prof, we have another question here, Prof. The one question
You see,
from
Muhammad
Dr. Sofian.
Sufian,
Yeah, Dr. Muhammad Sofian.
Muhammad Sufian, regarding the water supply and water treatment, I think this is a perennial problem in my state of
Yeah,
Kelantan. It's a perennial
yeah,
problem.
agree, Prof.
I started drinking water from well, and that was clean. And then until now, my kampung has no pipe water. Kelantan has this perennial problem depending on what I call river water. We have not exploited, to my mind, I may be wrong here, the underground water, or rather, even the water from the Pergau Dam can be utilized to supply to water. But this is political issue. I saw in a Facebook, people have been discussing this. But what concerns me is that the water of the river Kelantan, Sungai Kelantan, Sungai Pergau, Sungai Negeri, Sungai Lebih, you know, in the last 5 decades and until today is still tetaring. This is sad. I mean, common sense tell you, Cantonese are not drinking good and clean water. When I go back to my mother-in-law's house, I saw what I call stain, cuprum stain in the sink. What does it mean? It means our water contain a lot of iron. And I know because you take water from water, and our Kelantan River contains so much iron concentration, I think far below. No, I appeal to the Kelantan government, but mostly I appeal to the researchers in Kelantan and all the public, to address this very amicably. Don't criticize the government. But participate well to improve the quality of water in Kelantan, especially. You know, Sad to say, but I live in Kajang. Once in a while we have got contamination from the factories and industries into the Langak River. And that question is perennial again in August 1 in 2 years. The authorities, to my mind, has failed to take enough action to address this issue. Now, we are living in 2020. We cannot tolerate such thing because we have engineers, we have got people who know how to handle this. Now, let us not put this as a political issue in Kelantan. The people of Kelantan deserve clean water. The people of Kelantan deserve a better living than I think my generation of last, and for my father's generation. Thank you, Sofyan.
Okay, thank you, Prof. And then we have, I think we have like 5 questions, Prof. Okay, we move to the next questions. Is from Dr. Nik Rayahan. Okay, Prof. Dato, I would like to know your view on the Malaysian attitude regarding the conserving nature and saving of environment.
Well, unfortunately, I am the chair of Jabatan Warisan Negara looking at nature conservation. I think the
Yeah.
meeting is day after tomorrow. You know, I chair this Jabatan Kuasa 5 years ago, and we couldn't move to put nature as our national heritage site because most of this belong to the government agencies. So I've got to tell myself, I've got to talk to the government agencies, putting nature, putting site on as a national heritage site is not losing it to any other organization. It's just to protect and conserve the amenities, Say for example, I have a paper to put Gunung Stone on the national map. Gunung Stone State Park is already a state park. Now, what about putting that as a national heritage site? What about Matam? What about Pasu? What about Stiu? And the list go on. What about Bukit Fraser? What about Bukit Larut? I've got a list of 14 now in my list with all the attributes, to put all this site on the map called National Heritage Site, just like Royal Bloom, just like Fring. They are all National Heritage Site. We our attitude has been complacent. You know, our attitude is not too aggressive to putting things for the public amenities. Now, Jabatan Warisan Negara has reenact the Jabatan Kuasa, which I chair, and I'll try to do my level best, to put this thing in practice. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Prof. And then we have questions from Shafiq Hamdan here. He asks you, Shafiq Hamdan, what is your opinion and view on the Agar Woods Gaharu industry for the conservation? Gaharu.
Very,
For the conservation.
very interesting. I must say, we've got a potential here because the Arabs love this. The local loves this. The Arab loves for all the perfume and all for everything. And we started very well. I think there was one Hadi Wahab in Kuala Lumpur who got a plantation. We've got Dato Wong having a plantation somewhere in Bentong. We've got people in Negeri Sembilan growing gaharu. We've got Jabatan Perhutanan growing gaharu in Merchang. I think we've got enough people interested in planting gaharu for the agar wood, for the oil, and for so on. But so far, I've seen is what I consider panas-panas tai ayam. You know, yeah, you go strong for a few months, then you say, cukup lah. To be honest, at one time, I got a supply of leaves of gaharu, Equalaria malacensis. I make it into tea bags, but I couldn't get supply of the leaves. In other words, sustainability, or rather the supply demand, uh, is not balanced with the demand that I wanted. But I think this tree, it is a it is what I consider a golden tree, but you must do it well. I know in somewhere in lodging, there is a company who have planted a couple of acres of gaharu. I think Acularia malacensis with Acularia krishna from Thailand. I think this is a good industry, to be honest, to enhance our non-timber product from the forest. I think rubber is good, but then again it's panas-panas tai ayam juga. I see the so-called TLC, timber latex glue, is panas-panas tai ayam also. I must say, I call it panas-panas tai ayam because we were strong, we were very aggressive for a few months, and then we just slowed down. There is no will, I call it. Tidak ada suatu semangat betul-betul nak menjayakan sesuatu. But I stand to be criticized in this because I'm sure, other than this, there are people doing good job planting gaharu in Pahang, in Negeri Sembilan that I know of, possibly in Kelantan also.
Okay, Prof. Thank you, Prof. Okay, and then the next question is from Dr. Healing. Okay, she asked regarding I wondering how we can, as a scientist, to connect the policy makers in the polishing the environmental laws and the policy, for example.
Oh, thank you, Healing. In my academic life, for 40 over years, this is what we've been trying. It is no good academic in our room, taught the student the good, the bad, the ugly, and cannot address or cannot communicate with the policymakers, either at the federal level or the state level, and more importantly at the district level, the community level, or what I call Majlis Bandaran, which really have the power to do many things. Well, some success, some I did successfully, some with failure, but I have never stopped, engaging policymakers, members of parliament, state assemblymen. Even now, I think Dr. Zul Hazman has already engaged the Timbalan Menteri Besar of Kelantan to do something for lodging highland. This is something which scientists, you and me, can do. What do we lose? We lose nothing. But we have got to do over and over and over and over and over again, just like membedel, macam suami isteri lah. I mean, we have no choice. We have to tell our children 100 times before he or she does something correct. We have no choice. And I've been doing this, engaging the ministers, the director general, the KSUs all the time. As I said, sometimes berjaya, sometimes tak berjaya. Mereka ni kadang-kadang tuli, mereka ni ada telinga tebal. I mean, kerana mereka manusia. They are just human beings like you and me who have other priorities. But I forgive them. But I have not stopped, honestly. I got nothing to lose now. I got a few more years to do. Thank you. But you got to do your part, healing. I'll do my part. And let everybody do their parts. The power lies in this finger.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Prof. And then we go to the next two last questions. The second last is from Tien Chonto. Thank you, Prof, for your sharing just now. Do you think there are correlation among the different home greening efforts? I think it's among the community, the efforts of home greening, Prof.
I believe, if you go to Kedah, every small rice planters, 3 or 2 houses, they have got a village orchard, or rather the home orchard around them. Pure green, coconut, gingers, you name it, And at home in Kelantan also, especially when I was back in Kelantan, I saw what I consider home orchard. The concept of home orchard. Every home planted something. And if every home planted something, then the community will plant something. In every housing estate, they plant something. So in other words, indirectly, they are greening the whole communities, And this thing can be expanded into township, into masjid, into beach, into urban areas, and into all the degraded lands, and so many things. I am for, as I said, starting from home, greening your home as home orchard, and expanding to the communities. And in the long term, I think we can green the whole country. The country is green already, but where they are not green, where they are brown, where they are left barren, put something green. You have the quality environment by putting good oxygen and taking CO2 good enough. I think that is already pahala di situ. One last question from whom?
Yes, true, Prof. And then I think we go to the last question, Prof, from Dr. Hasifah Aziz. Prof, you mentioned earlier about the gated community ataupun the gated house. How it is not about sustainable way of living. What is your opinion about sustainable living of practice in Malaysia that we should practice more?
Well, first place, why did we gate our taman perumahan? It's security from petty thieves, from apa yang cakap-cakap itu what do you call that? Vandalism.
Vandalism, yeah.
To be honest, when we gate our communities, our perumahan, our building, our UKM, we are excluding indirectly the people. You go elsewhere. In Japan, I've been in Japan, the campus are not gated, but our campus are gated. Even my faculty is gated. How do you feel when people wants to go to your house? You have got to go through security, and open up the gate and close the gate, you know. And I think this is not sustainable. You go to New Zealand, all houses are open because they don't have petty crime doers. They don't have vandalism as such, you know. So again, we have got to educate our young people, our old people. Don't do petty thieving. Don't do vandalizing other people's properties, and let all our houses not gated. I think you come to my house. I'm not gated. I don't lock my compound. But then, of course, you know, sometimes in my mind, oh, what if the dogs came in to catch my cats? What if
Yes.
budak-budak jahat dadah kemari curi kasut Adidas saya? So again, to me, healthy living is get rid of the petty crime, get rid of vandalism, and get rid of drug addicts. You know,
Yep.
I think that's what I call healthy living and sustainable living. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Prof. I think that's all for the Q&A sessions. Once again, I need to express our thanks and gratitude to the Honorable Emeritus Professor Dr. Abdul Latif Muhammad, keynote speaker for the CTReSS 2.0, committee members, everyone who has contributed and involved in one way and or another to the success of the conference. Our most precious thank you goes to the
Thank you
all
very
presenters and participants who attended this visual conference to share your experience and engage with each other. Your visual presence is highly appreciated. Okay, thank you, Prof, for
thank
spending
you
time and
thank you.
entertain all the questions. Thank you, Prof. Okay, following these opening sessions, there will be a series of parallel sessions where we will get to know each other. We wish you an enjoy and fruitful virtual conference starting from today till tomorrow. Thank you very much. See you guys again tomorrow afternoon for the closing ceremony. Thank you very much.